This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we'll be piping Buttercream Romance Ranunculuses. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We are going to make two colors for our flower today, and we're going to start out with kind of a lilac shade and then make a little bit of pink. We're using American style buttercream, but you can use whatever kind you like. I think Italian or Swiss would work well too. And we're using the following liquid gel colors: violet and neon bright pink. So really simple. And I have a little of each out on a lid with a little toothpick. I'm just going to start with a few little specks of my pink, followed by a few of my purple. And I want to make a nice kind of lilac shade, and this is just a great way to do it. Gives you that nice blend of pink and purple together. It gives kind of like a warm, soft shade of purple. I'm just going to check it out, see if I like it, see if it's intense enough, or if I want to take it one direction or the other, either by adding a little more pink or a little more violet. I probably just want a little more color. It's a little pale yet. I think I want it to read a little more balanced towards the pink than the purple. And that's a lovely color. For our second shade, we're pretty much going to do the same thing, except we're going to go more pink and just the tiniest touch of purple. So just a little hint of that purple. So it'll be similar, but just a little bit different. So instead of reading like a warm purple shade, this one will read a bit like a cool pink, and they'll go well together. So do nice soft colors for both the center area of these flowers and the outside petals. Like where it's going, just bump it up a tiny touch. And just a little bit of purple. There we go. So we have kind of a nice, soft, almost, I would say the pink has almost an icy quality to it, and that's going to go great with the other color we made. For this flower, we are going to use two bags. We're using both 12-inch disposable. You can use whatever you like or have on hand. We have one fitted directly with the tip, the other one we're using a coupler. Our first bag has our nice light pink in it, and we're using a 124K. Our second has our lilac shade, and we have it first fitted with a number 12, and we'll also be using a number 61. We're going to use several techniques, many of which you've seen before, for our romance ranunculus. And the first thing we're going to do is make a nice big dot with our number 12. We don't want to necessarily make this a totally smooth dot. We don't really care about what the surface looks like. We just need it to be big enough. So make sure you're up off the surface. You squeeze, nice full dot, and then pull up a little bit while you're still squeezing to kind of build it up a little bit. So think about giving it some extra height and kind of lengthening it a touch. This is just to make sure that we have enough height there on the side to really build our flowers. For our first petals, we're using a number 61. So for the center, we're going to do a little wriggle center. And for this, we're going to set our bag up so that it's 45 degrees. The back end is at 430, so it's pointing towards my right shoulder because I'm piping with my right hand. And the skinny end of this curved opening is going to be pointing towards the center of our flower. That way, when we hold it right on top of that nice little mound we've created, we're just going to pipe as we pull up and down. So think about wriggling up and down, just a slight little up and down motion. And this is going to build up these cute little kind of folds or almost ruffles of buttercream that are going to give us the look of a nice center of tightly closed petals. And it's hard to imagine here, but we'll go through it again on your tip. Just know that we're going to squeeze and hold the bag pretty much in place in terms of position. We're not going to be moving it backwards and forwards like normally. We're just going to do a gentle up and down motion, and that's going to create kind of this little flowing ruffled ribbon that's going to spiral on the center there and give us the look of our tops. Next, we're also going to use our 61 to make some little high arc or arched petals. Now, normally when we do these, we take a soft arc motion, but sometimes we want to travel a little less distance and make them a little bit more extreme. So instead of a soft, long, gradual motion, we're going to go almost straight up and then straight back down. So just like that. And when we're doing these, we're going to have that same bag position. So 45 degrees, 430, and the skinny end of our tip is going to be pointing straight up. And finally, we're going to use our 124K to make some nice soft arcs. And these are kind of like tapered soft arcs. So when I do them, I'm going to be pulling towards myself, and I'm going to extend down the side of our little mound. So think about, instead of just going steady kind of across at the same level, we're going to make that arc, and then we're going to pull down at the end for some of these. And then some of them will do regular soft arcs. But to begin with, we want that tapered off effect as we spiral around our mound of frosting. Now let's talk about how we're going to combine all those techniques we just reviewed and make our blossoms. So to build these romance ranunculuses, we're going to start with our number 12. We're going to make our nice big dot, and we're going to build up that height on the side just a little bit. Give us a little extra room to pipe all of our petals on. And we're doing that with our number 12 tip. We're then going to change the tip on the bag to our number 61, and we'll make that wriggle center. So we're going to set ourselves up, fat end of the tip, just starting out touching that kind of top edge curve of the outside where it really starts to slope down the side. The skinnier end is going to point across the middle. Think of it kind of going at a nice little angle there. And we're just going to wriggle that bag up and down as we spin our nail. And that's going to give us the look of those nice, tightly closed little petals there in the center. We're going to keep that 61 tip in play, and we're going to set ourselves up so that we're rotating it. So think about rotating the opening of the tip so it's going straight up. And we're going to pipe 3 of those little high arc petals. So think about, we're going to start out just doing 3 of them, equally spaced around the outside of that center. And then we're going to go on top of each one and just slightly to the right of it and pipe 2 more for each one. And so that's going to give us these little kind of groupings of petals that are just kind of unfolding and opening. And it might be a little hard to visualize, but once we go onto our nail, you'll see where we're going with it. So it's going to give us these little type groupings of petals that look like they're unfurling. And that's going to give us a nice look in the center. It's a little unique, a little different. Once we do that, we're going to change over to our bag with our 124K, and we're going to pipe 2 of those kind of soft arcs that have the taper down the side. So just pick a spot in between 2 of those groupings of the high arcs, pull one around, make sure that tail comes down the end, and then go on the opposite side and do the other one. It reminds me a little bit sometimes of the inside of roses in that way. And then we're going to go on top of those and pipe another petal. And this time we'll go offset to the left a little bit. So start just kind of on top of the petal before and pull around. And you can do 2, you can do 3 on top if you've got the room and you feel like you've got the space for it. Sometimes kind of run out of room, and it's nice to have a little variation. Once we get that set up, that should kind of build up a nice round shape for us. And now we're just going to do some regular soft arc petals because we'll be closer to the bottom. And you'll notice at this point, I might start to angle the opening of my tip out. This is something that'll just happen naturally. You'll end up with more volume at the top and less at the base where you're next to the nail. So it'll encourage you to kick the bottom end of the tip in a little bit and angle the top edge out. And we're just going to pull some regular soft arcs around, make them overlapping, and just do them anywhere it feels like it needs extra body to make this more round. And as you go, you and put on more, you can angle that tip out a little more. And when you put them on, I want you to think about almost pushing lightly against the massive frosting that you're creating. That'll allow these really super thin petals to connect and have some support. It can feel a little funny at first and even a little bit scary, but it'll give you a really nice effect with the petals. They'll ruffle a little bit kind of softly, and that'll give you that kind of characteristic look that these ranunculus flowers have. So unlike the kind of traditional ones that we've done before that have that very tight bald look to them still, these are kind of unfurling, and the petals, instead of being really straight, have just a little bit of ruffle and wave to them. So really let that 124K tip do its job and create some beautiful effects for you that'll be different on each flower you create. We've pulled out our flower nail. We're working on a 2-inch nail today, and I've just got some parchment paper adhered to it with just a little bit of extra buttercream. I have my bag with my lilac color in it and my number 12 tip on, and I'm just going to start up off my surface. Bag is straight up and down, nail is straight up and down too. Pipe a nice dot and then pull up just a little bit to build it up some before circling around and swirling off. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little lumpy. That's just fine. Now we're going to make a wriggle center. I've changed to my number 61 tip. I've got my bag at 45 degrees. Back end is at 430, so pointing towards my right shoulder. And I'm just going to rest the opening of that tip across here. Fat end is pointing towards the outside and connecting right as my mound starts to curve. And skinny end is pointing towards the center. And I'm just going to squeeze, pull up, and down as I turn. And just swipe down to finish. And you can see that gives us a nice look, like we've got these really tightly coiled little petals that haven't opened up yet, and it gives you a beautiful effect for the center. I'm using the same setup for the angle and position in my bag. I've just got the opening of my tip rotated so it's pointing up. And I'm going to start out by piping 3. You can see that, high arc petals, and I just want to line them up so they're kind of approximately equally spaced apart. And this is the reason I like to do these 3 petals first, because it kind of sets up my spacing. They don't have to be perfectly even. You can see there's a little more space between one than the other. But then I go on top of them, just to the right a little bit, and pipe 2 more. And we'll do that for each of those petals. It might push them in a little bit, and that's just fine. And you can see that gives me 3 groupings of petals, and they kind of look like they're kind of gently unfolding in these beautiful layers. Now I've switched to my bag with my 124K, and I'm going to start with my 2 little sets of high arc petals. So I'm going to go in between one of those soft arc petals. I'm going to go in between the groups of high arc petals to put those on. So I've set myself up 430, 45 degrees, and I'm going to do a nice soft arc and pull all the way down. So you can see it kind of tapers off down around the side. And then I'm just going to start in between another set of 2 and do the same thing. Now I'm going to come just a little bit to the left, so rotate a little bit and put on 2 more. And if you need to, kick the outside edge of your tip open a little bit and rotate, and that should get the base of the petal to adhere for you. And you can see you start to get the look of these kind of unfurling groups of petals when you do that, because we're layering those beautiful soft tapered petals on there, and the groupings start to kind of overlap each other at the end. Now we're just going to put on soft arc petals, and you can see we've got a little bit of an unusual shape right now. We want to just kind of even that out. So we want to fill in anywhere we need to and just put on more petals. Make them so they overlap. pull up in that nice soft arc anywhere you need to. And the back end of my tip is kind of pushing against my mass of frosting. And that will give them some support. And don't be afraid to let them wrinkle and ruffle. And so as I go, because I've gone around kind of once and filled in, and you can see I've rounded out my shape, now I'm going to pull the outside edge of that tip out just a little more and put on a few more. And you just want to keep going until you like the look and size of your flower. There's not going to be an exact way to do this. Just take a look at it after you put on a couple. So go around once, see if you like the way things are going, and add a few more if you feel like you need to. So I think maybe I just need one more over there just to kind of even it out. So I want the overall shape to kind of be roundish, but I'm totally cool if some of the petals ruffle a bit, wrinkle a bit, or there's a little bit of an unusual look to it. These flowers have a really soft feel to them, and you can see you've got a lot of little delicate wavy petals, but since we've pushed the back end of that tip in there, they're all nice and supported, and it's really just those outside edges that are kind of hanging out for us. But it gives us a really soft feel that, like the name of the flower, is really romantic and beautiful. That's all for this lesson on romance ranunculuses. If you like this one, give our video on regular ranunculus a try, or if you want something a little different or an open flower to pair with it, our wonderful butterfly ranunculus video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.